Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So what I'm going to do, hopefully in short order, is walk through how to think about NFTs, kind of where they came from and where maybe they're going. So this will help you throughout the day sort of figure out, is what I'm listening to here, or is it going to be here in a short or a long period of time? So let's get started. Hopefully that works. There we go. First, I'd like you to think about NFTs maybe slightly differently than the way you have. What an NFT is not is a picture, a snippet of a video, a media file. That is an application of an NFT, but an NFT is something a lot more abstract but also simple. It's the ability to send somebody something of value instantly at virtually no cost, where the person getting it knows without any effort that it's real. And if you do what I've done for a lot of years, try to figure out, is there anything else in the world that definition fits? Other than a tokenized item, there really isn't. There is no way for you to get something and without any effort know it's genuine, except if it's a tokenized asset, like a picture, a video, or anything else that's a bearer instrument. So this kind of is a way to understand where we're headed, because that definition applies to a lot of things. The origins of NFTs are actually in MMOs. I assume a lot of you are game players. MMOs stand for massively multiplayer online games. MMORPGs, role-player games, are where the concept of a digital or virtual item that you could trade with someone else, where they would be able to use it in a game or be able to trade it with someone for money, that all started with my partner and I doing Ultima Online virtual item trading. This was taking video game virtual items all the way back to 1998. And if you were on Ultima Online back then and you did that, you could actually earn these virtual objects and make money, fiat as now we say, from just playing a game. Things like World of Warcraft and CSGO just popularized this. But everything about a video game virtual item is similar to what happens with NFTs, with a few very important distinctions. This is one of the first marketplaces for the buying and selling of video game virtual items. And of course, they took fiat. This was my partner's site. And the main thing to think about here is this is really the origin of all these marketplaces you now know about that are on the blockchain. And actually the origin of play to earn, the idea that you could play a video game and make money. And many of the early people in crypto were from my industry. They were buying and selling virtual items, all trapped within, of course, a closed system, but they understood the concept of being able to give something to someone else digitally anywhere in the world. This was my site called Opskins. A skin is slightly different from a virtual item. In a video game, a virtual item is something that has in-game utility. A skin is a video game virtual item, but it's strictly cosmetic. It'll dress up an object, but it doesn't do anything in particular, much like Gen 1 NFTs, frankly. Something else that is talked about a lot these days is generative art. And the concept there is you design an algorithm to follow a certain set of steps with randomized elements in them to create works of art by bots. The first time I saw that was actually 2003 with a video game called Quake, which is an open source video game. Somebody hacked it and used it to create video game art. Obviously nowadays that would be worth, whatever, $1 million. But back then it was just a cool technology. But you can also see the things we were doing in video games were similar to what we've started to do with NFTs. Another piece of the generative art. And the thing that should get all of you excited if you're here thinking about maybe I make a career in this area is that the video game virtual item market is almost $200 billion a year, every single year, and growing. And it's growing at more than 10% a year. And this is how video games these days actually make money, right? It used to be you would sell a packaged piece of software. Now, of course, you play for free, and then you use in-game items, which you pay for. Except most of those games don't allow you to trade them. By the way, there's a secondary market here, which is the market, once you've bought the video game, to sell back and forth to each other. That market is about 50 billion. So 250 billion in total per year. That'll give you a sense of how big the NFT market could be. With one exception, well, there's actually two, but this is the big one. Anyone who's played video games and has virtual items in them knows that you are trapped within these ecosystems. And if you don't do what they tell you to do, you will be banned. And you will lose all of your value. And we have people on Opskins who paid tens of thousands of dollars for their virtual items. Now, of course, with NFTs, you have people who've paid millions. You could never tolerate having an overlord say, you're not allowed to do that, you're banned. So for me as a gamer, the biggest, most exciting thing about virtual items for NFT virtual items is that you can't be banned. They're yours. They're your personal property to do as you wish. The other, of course, is they're permissionless, so you can do anything with them, including build a business around them. If you ever look at the fine print for a video game, it'll say for entertainment purposes only. You don't actually own those virtual items, even if you did pay a lot for them. And of course, the biggest difference is that they're programmable. Now that's a wild concept. Every NFT, remember, is a computer. The NFT is a Turing-complete computer. You can write software, it'll execute, and a result will get produced. That is Turing-complete. We haven't even begun, really, to exploit this aspect of NFTs, what I would call probably smart NFTs. As we see these things use AI to do stuff that you may want to do from a complex business standpoint, or you may want to do just to add an element of fun in a game. Being able to program digital items to traverse the internet or the mobile network and do whatever you program it to do, limited only by your imagination, because it is permissionless, which means do what you want, is super powerful. And in terms of how big this can be, I think it's trillions. If these trapped little video game virtual items that are not smart, you can't program them, and they are unable to do anything that's outside the bounds of someone's terms of service, if you unleash that to the world, it's got to be trillions. And by the way, this also covers when people say are NFTs a fad. Is shopping and trading and playing a fad? No. You will be able to program these like you can program a computer. A computer is not a fad. Maybe the app on it is. So think very broadly about NFTs. This is sort of like when the internet started. How broad can that be? It's not just an e-commerce site. It's whatever you can transmit to someone else. Briefly, where are we right now? This is where we are now. We have NFTs generally on single blockchains. They are generally not programmed, not much. They're collectible, and it's an indie game kind of environment where people are doing small things, but no giant corporations have yet entered the fray. And this is where we're going. Now, this is where the business gets very, very big. Because when you can take those NFTs and cross-chain them, when you can create bearer instruments, which simply means something of value you can generate it from it, like in many video games you can't. Here you can do what we all now call play to earn. Those are only possible because of the unique aspects of what NFTs are. Now, let me wrap it up here by saying the Metaverse is, well, I'm sure in this audience, if I asked, every single person would have a different view. I know what it's not, though. What a Metaverse is not is what we have here. This is a standard video game. It's cool. The graphics are amazing. That's PUBG. You can dress up your skin or your NFT coat. You got a really interesting world you can go through. Be patient, because the first version of metaverses using blockchain are not going to be graphically intensive, exciting experiences. They're going to show us kind of a way, an architecture, but to develop it out the way we all want to be, Ready Player One, we are talking many, many years before we'll be able to do that. This today is what I call the Truman Show, if you remember that movie. You're trapped within a place, you think it's yours, you think it's the real world, but it's not. When people like Facebook decide to launch what they're going to call a metaverse, you have to be aware that that's going to be a closed system. You're not going to be able to do what the blockchain's going to enable metaverses to do. And that's why I'm building what I'm building, and many others here are as well, because we want people to be able to do anything they can as long as it's in a digital, transmittable way. The key point is that someone like a Facebook is never going to allow you to do anything that violates their business model. And there's a lot that violates that business model. So anytime you look at a blockchain-based technology, be thinking about the fact that it's not centrally controlled. And that's what makes it super distinctive. And lastly, I think we have about 3 years as blockchain people to get the word out, to get mass adoption, which I would call about 200 million people. By the time there are 200 million people playing around with virtual items, NFT tokenized items, in what we would call a metaverse, meaning it's persistent, it's an open world, you can do what you want. My hope is that as Google and Apple and Facebook and others roll out very controlled universes, the people will say, I don't like that. I want what these guys have to offer. It's going to be sexy what a Facebook can be able to do, but it's going to be highly controlled. And that's not the future that I'm planning on having. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to the next speaker. Hopefully that opened your minds a bit to how broadly the NFT market is going to be in the next 10 years. Thank you.